Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are tackling a massive puzzle right at the heart of the digital economy. We're going to demystify exactly why some token ecosystems just absolutely explode and scale into global powerhouses, while others, well, they completely collapse under their own weight. If you've ever found yourself wondering what actually separates a sustainable, decentralized network from just another fleeting hype cycle, you are absolutely in the right place.
Okay, let's kick things off by anchoring ourselves with a really powerful quote from author and researcher Sherman Voshkir. She says, "Tokens are for Web 3 what websites were for Web 1." I absolutely love this because it immediately validates the monumental scale of what we're looking at today. We aren't just talking about trading digital cards here. We're looking at the foundational infrastructure of the entire next iteration of the internet.
But that brings up a pretty glaring contradiction. I want to pose this question directly to you. If tokens are genuinely that foundational, why do so many of these Web3 economies just outright fail? What is fundamentally breaking under the hood? That's the diagnostic puzzle we're going to solve together today.
So, here's our game plan. We'll quickly examine the broken token problem, apply Voshkir's design thinking framework, dive into Tokenomics 2.0, navigate the governance challenge, and finally, look at how to actually build sustainable incentive structures.
All right, part one, the broken token problem. What went wrong? Because to figure out where we're headed, we really need to understand our history first.
According to our sources, including Laura Shin's awesome historical deep dive in the Cryptopians and Sherman Voshkir's analysis, the true root cause of most network collapses is rarely the underlying technology. It's almost never just bad code. It's actually poorly designed economics. Remember the ICO boom? The market was literally flooded with copycats and these quick profit schemes. Projects were being built on super short-sighted token designs and highly extractive economic models. Essentially, people were building digital houses of cards where the incentives actually encouraged participants to drain value from the network rather than contribute to its long-term health.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 2, Voshkir's design thinking framework, building what lasts.
So, to fix these broken incentives, Voshkir points us toward this design thinking framework. Basically, it's a holistic method for evaluating token incentives, governance structures, and stakeholder dynamics. It's a total paradigm shift. It forces us to stop looking at tokens as just speculative assets to trade and instead treat them as the actual lifeblood of a sustainable, decentralized ecosystem.
Now, what's truly fascinating here is this concept of viewing token networks as complex digital nations. You can't just hire a programmer to write some smart contracts and call it a day. You actually need political science to understand how power gets distributed among your users. You need economics to set up sound monetary policy so your token doesn't just hyperinflate into nothing. You need cybernetics to monitor system feedback loops when the market shifts. And finally, you need complex systems theory just to manage the sheer unpredictability of a decentralized digital society. It's a massive multidisciplinary challenge.
Moving right along to Section 3, Tokenomics 2.0, capturing value and how these industry models are maturing.
Coinbase's recent market outlook highlights this evolution beautifully. For a network to actually survive long-term, it has to perfectly align the financial incentives of three distinct groups. First up, the core development team. They need stable operating income so they can keep building. Meanwhile, platform users need a direct economic stake to foster loyalty. Basically, if they use the network, they should benefit from its growth. And finally, the token holders themselves require tangible value capture. Instead of just crossing their fingers and hoping the price goes up based on Twitter hype, Tokenomics 2.0 leverages mature financial engineering. We're talking about strategic token buy and burn mechanisms that are directly tied to how the platform is actually performing. It's simple. When the platform wins, everybody wins. And honestly, the data backs this up entirely. Digital asset trusts, or DATs, are becoming a major new entrant into institutional crypto adoption. This whole shift towards clear value capture and mature financial engineering isn't just theory anymore. It is actively attracting serious, sustained institutional capital. Because institutions, they don't invest in broken incentives. They invest in aligned, sustainable models.
But hey, aligning financial incentives is really only half the battle. That brings us to Section 4, the governance challenge, managing these digital nations.
We have to talk about the heavy, real-world risks of managing these networks, and there is no better example than the historic collapse of the DAO. As Laura Shin details in her book, the DAO was this wildly ambitious, early decentralized investment fund built on Ethereum.
It raised an incredible $140 million through crowdfunding. But it featured a completely unrestricted access framework. Literally anyone, anywhere could put money in. This naive approach to governance completely ignored practical regulatory realities, which led straight to intense SEC scrutiny. The SEC designated their digital assets as securities, ultimately contributing to a massive structural collapse. It is the ultimate cautionary tale of exactly what happens when technology tries to ignore the law. So how is the industry actually solving this fragmentation today? Well, we're seeing two distinct modern approaches to regulatory compliance when dealing with real-world assets. On one side, we have the walled garden model. Here, compliance is hard-coded directly into the token. You need a verified KYC-approved wallet just to hold it, and it's strictly geofenced. On the other side, there's the freely transferable model. You still need KYC to initially mint the asset, but once it's on-chain, it can move freely across DeFi platforms, relying way more on secondary market surveillance than hard locks. Both models are actively being used to navigate the messy global regulatory landscape, just depending on what the network is trying to achieve.
So the crucial takeaway here is this. Despite these incredibly complex governance and regulatory hurdles, the system is working. Just look at the breakdown. We're talking about billions of dollars of real-world assets, everything from U.S. treasuries to commodities to private credit that are already successfully distributed and operating on-chain. The governance challenge is undeniably steep, but it's being solved in real time.
Let's bring everything we've learned together in Section 5, Building Sustainable Incentive Structures, Engineering for True Stability.
To see exactly what a sustainable model looks like in the wild, let's examine a real-world case study from a decentralized AI compute network called IO.net. There is such a sharp contrast here between past and present models. Early token projects were almost entirely supply-driven. They just mint tons of inflationary tokens to reward hardware suppliers, making the incentives highly volatile and completely tied to token price hype. If the price crashed, the suppliers just bailed. That is the broken model. In contrast, IO.net shifted to a demand-driven network. It's deflationary, offering stable incentives that are backed by tangible utility, meaning the rewards are driven by actual real-world users paying for AI compute power. Let's walk through this mechanic step by step, because it's pretty brilliant. They call it their incentive dynamic engine. Step 1. A user, like an AI startup, purchases computing power on the network. Step 2. The person supplying that hardware is paid a stable USDC equivalent incentive. They know exactly what they're earning, and they are completely insulated from token price volatility. Step 3. Any excess value generated by the network goes into a vault, and a portion is systematically burned, reducing the total token supply over time. This completely engineers a stable, sustainable reward system that directly captures value from actual network usage. And why does this real-world usage even exist? Because a properly governed, sustainably incentivized, decentralized compute network can actually offer services up to 70% cheaper than traditional centralized hyperscalers like AWS. 70%! That is a massive economic driver. It proves that when you finally fix the tokenomics, the underlying technology can fundamentally disrupt major traditional industries by providing better, cheaper access to everyone. And this micro-level engineering connects directly to a much grander macro-level vision. As Alex Gladstein notes in the Great Simplification podcast, the ingenuity that gets unlocked by the whole world being on the same currency standard is incalculable. Whether it's a developer in South Africa rendering AI for a fraction of the cost, or an activist protecting their life savings from fiat devaluation, these carefully designed digital networks offer a very real way to empower individuals globally with equal, open, and mathematically secure economic rules. Which leaves us with one final, pretty profound thought to ponder. We've seen today that through multidisciplinary design, complex systems theory, and demand-driven mechanics, we can engineer decentralized economies that are incredibly stable, efficient, and fair. So, if a token ecosystem can be perfectly designed to balance power and capture real value on a global scale, do we even still need traditional central banks to do it for us? I'm going to leave you to chew on that one. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.